Hello, I'm Echo Wants Her Voice Back, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Xavier Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Xavier Rocks, and today we've got the lovely singer-songwriter Echo. Hey Echo, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
Not too bad. So originally it's Echo Wants Her Voice Back. I love the title, and I think that's what drawn me to actually write to you saying, yeah, I want to run a podcast. So
Thank
tell
you.
tell us a little bit about the name and how it came about.
Sure. I came up with the name with my former bandmate, Lorde, who's now living in Greece. We were a little bit tipsy, I think, on red wine.
That happens.
Right. Yeah. We just, we were writing a few songs together at the time, and we wanted a name that kind of represented us both. She's an amazing guitarist. And yeah, we were just thinking, what defines us? What do we both? And we both love Greek myth, and Echo is a Greek mythical character who she's a forest nymph. She gets cursed by Hera. She has a really unfortunate existence. So it's kind of combines the Greek drama of wanting someone she can never have, narcissist. I don't know if you know the story where he drowns. That's where the word narcissist comes from, which is quite funny in a sense when you kind of parody that into songs. And I guess Echo Wants Her Voice Back, there is a definite feminist perspective to that,
and it's strong as well. Really
wanting
strong.
The voice is what defines identity. But yeah, I guess we came up with it in moments when we were quite tipsy and in an emotional, but then it all made sense afterwards. But in that moment, it was like Echo. We wanted to go with her because she's a tragic figure that not many, there's not a lot about her. The myth is quite, the versions of the myth that are popular are really quite similar in that she just dies after wasting away when Narcissus drowns in his reflection. So there's not much else about her. So I guess in taking this title, it appropriates that myth and changes its course. It reinterprets it. It's like we wrote a song. I remember one of the first songs we wrote that I haven't actually released yet. I need to release it. It's called Unfortunate Day. And it was, we played it live a few times, but it was all about how she watches him drown. Well, she stalks him around everywhere. He can't really, they can't get together because she can't speak to him properly, and he's in love with himself. And then when she sees him drowning, she just runs away and grieves his death, but moves on. So it's like,
sounds like a lot of women.
A lot of women, a lot of relationships, exactly. The modern way of looking at relationships, I guess, which I'm not always fond of because I'm very romantic. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? It's a toxic relationship. Just find a way to move on eventually.
I think people find that part one of the hardest things to do, because it's either people can get so caught up in a relationship or they're just comfortable in that relationship that they just don't want to leave. Because
no, definitely. I mean,
it's hard to get away from that pain. You don't want that pain to come to you, so you'll stay in it, even though it is paining you and it is toxic, like you're saying. But you're still there.
No,
until you see the light, until you see the end of the tunnel, until you see that light where it says, okay, you need to do something to make yourself happy.
Or until you find somebody else who actually makes you forget the previous person. I used to have a band called Serial Monogamy. When I love the
titles. I don't know where you get your titles from.
That was insane. Yeah, I think it takes time to let go. It can become a really, as you said, you can become very comfortable and familiar with something, and be afraid of letting go. And I think emotions can change as well. Love can change, and I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert in the subject. I just write songs on the subject.
No, but it seems to me like you put a lot of your heart and soul, and especially your emotions into what you're doing. Like,
Definitely, I can't
one of the
write.
questions I do have for you is, how do you break them apart? How
I
do you manage to break
don't.
them apart? You
Well,
don't.
I don't. What do you mean break them apart? Maybe I don't
Because
understand.
no. All it is sometimes when it comes to people who are creative, we can be very sensitive
Mm.
in what we do and how we do it creatively. So sometimes we find it hard to find a break to be able to break the two apart. So break love apart and then break our emotional connection to music. But how do you, if you can, do you ever find a way to break both of them apart? So love is love and music is music.
No,
Because
I
it
don't
seems
think
like
I
you
do.
put your it seems like you put your all into it regardless. And love is love and music is music. I'm gonna put it all together. So
Oh
it
yeah.
seems like you pull it all together, but is there a way that you go about creating your music?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, I I write what I feel,
Yeah.
and I try not to veer away from that. Um, even when I'm writing, because you can write narrative songs as well. You can write all sorts of songs about anything, but I
Yeah.
think music is definitely primarily emotional. Well, it is emotional. It comes from your heart. It comes from your feelings, and I don't separate it. I never break it down. I think it's my catharsis, though. It helps me
Yeah.
to kind of make sense of things.
Yeah.
Um, in that sense, I guess you do use logic as well, because
Yeah, of
in
course you do.
structuring a song, you focus on it. You have that flow that helps you get some relief from emotions that kind of trouble
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've been asked the question in different ways, like how can you write songs that are so sad? Because a lot of my songs are sad, but that's not to say they don't have hope in them. So I
Yeah.
think it's
No, that makes
important
sense.
for me to have a song with hope. However, some songs, yeah, there can be songs with despair, but
Yeah.
there's hope in the music. So
Yeah.
I think
That
that's
makes
why
total
when you
sense.
listen to a sad song, you feel better
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. It's because it does something to you internally. You connect with it.
You
And I
connect
think that's
with
very
it, yeah.
important. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how that influenced you in your music. Your
Um,
face.
are you ready? I
Yeah,
grew up
go
in
for it. No, I'm ready. Hey, we've got time.
okay. I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya,
Ah.
and Moscow, Russia, and Cyprus.
Oh,
And yeah, my dad was a diplomat, so
okay.
luckily I had that way of I had that upbringing of getting to know a lot of different cultures from a very
Yeah.
young age. Um, I remember Kenya being like paradise. I was quite young
I
when
can
I
only
left, but
I can only imagine.
I think that was really important actually for me, because I'm still this wild thing. I don't brush my hair very often. I'm not very makeup oriented, or you know,
It's the
um,
same, yeah.
I'm just very free, and I love nature, and I need to be around nature to feel good. I don't do it as much in London. Actually, this lockdown has benefited me, weirdly enough, in that I've gone
Yeah.
outside more and I've got to enjoy the parks more.
Yeah.
Well, the park near me, Greenwich Park. But yeah,
Ah.
I think nature is a big deal for me, and growing up in Kenya, really, it was fantastic. And then Moscow was great because I grew up at the time when the Soviet Union collapsed, and I got to see all
Okay.
that, um, and realize, how privileged we are in the West. And
Yeah.
uh,
Definitely.
yeah, and
Definitely.
Cyprus, my little island, that's where I was born.
Oh.
It's divided, as you know, so a
Hmm.
lot of my songs and feelings are influenced by that.
Yeah.
I lived there for quite a bit, and then I moved to the UK, studied English lit,
Yeah.
then moved back to Cyprus, then moved back here and studied music.
You've
And
done a lot of traveling.
I love traveling, so you can understand how this is impacting. I'm a travel bag. Yeah, I've been traveling for a very long time. I love jumping on planes and going to new places, but I love doing it for music. And to visit my family and my friends, but I don't really go on holidays. This is something I realized.
Okay. No, that's fair
Very
enough.
rarely
Yeah.
do I just go on a holiday. It has to be connected to music, which doesn't feel like work. It feels like it's my life.
How old was you when you wrote your first song?
To be honest, I don't remember, because I know I was writing songs from very, very young age. I would make up
Yeah.
tunes to feel better. My mom tells me I was really young. I was 5, I was 6. I would just make up tunes. But my first proper song, which I recorded, I think I was 16, 17.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was quite young, yeah.
Yeah. So you knew, it sounded like you knew exactly what you wanted to do. You always had it in your mind and your heart, and you knew, like, this is what I want to do. So
I think so. I didn't know, though. I loved doing it, but I thought I wasn't good enough. So it was
why?
it took me well, I guess because, you know, I wasn't what can I say? Like this is quite sad. And when I have students actually whose parents encourage them to do to become songwriters at a very young age, because I do teach songwriting sometimes, and I tell them, you know, you're very lucky, because music isn't, in most countries and in most traditional
it's
family
true.
households, it's not considered something that's going to make you any money or make you a career. So people don't kind of encourage it as a career move. They encourage it. I was lucky. I got to learn piano at a very young age, and you know, it's not that I wasn't encouraged to learn music. It's just, you know, songwriter. But later on, obviously, my family was very supportive. It's just I wasn't someone born with a big voice. Let me put it that way. I never had a big voice, but I loved writing songs. So and through practice, my voice became better. But I wasn't born like, you know, I wasn't a Celine Dion or a Mariah Carey, or, you know, I didn't have that big range. You know what I mean?
You don't have to have that range. I think, like, I don't know if you've heard of Enya. I love Enya's music because it's so spiritual. And it's not that she has a big voice. It's the way that she's able to connect with people spiritually. And I think that's beautiful compared to your Celine Dion's, Mariah Carey's, Whitney Houston's. Obviously, they're known worldwide, but so is Enya. But it's just on a different spectrum. And I think you're the same. I think you're the same. So you're more, to me, you're more spiritual and very knowledgeable. Just having like a 10-minute conversation with you at the moment, I can see that your knowledge is vast because you've traveled to so many countries. So my next question for you would be, would you recommend artists to travel more?
Oh, definitely.
Inspire them to write?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't feel I've traveled enough, to be honest. In the last 10, 12 years that I've been living in London, I've traveled a bit, but not enough, because I've been working a lot or stressing, you know.
No, we don't want the stress. Tell the stress, no.
Yeah, I think traveling is so important, and traveling in places where people are not as privileged as you are. Of course, you can catch some of that through, you know, podcasts and YouTube and films and, you know, reading. But it's definitely beneficial to go there and see, and perhaps you can discover something different in your music and your voice by doing that.
What's been the most life-changing event that's happened to you to make you do music, or made you reevaluate what you do within music? Has anything ever happened?
I always did music as a way to feel good, as a way to feel better. So I remember always doing that instinctively in the moment, making up tunes to feel good. There are lots of little moments in life where life, you know, shit hits the fan, so to speak.
Yep, tell me about it.
So I think everybody has a survival mechanism when that happens, and mine was always music. In a way, I don't know if it's good, because sometimes when I'm really truly, you know, at ease and content, I don't really feel like writing. I'm not that disciplined sometimes, and I'm trying to change that. But yeah, I usually write when I'm suffering in some way, and it's a cliche to say that the creative needs to suffer. I don't think we need to suffer at all. When you suffer too much, you can't write anything.
The fact you say that.
No, you can't write shit when you're suffering too much. You're just you just can't actually do anything. It's those moments in between the suffering and the happiness where you're ecstatic. It's those moments, which are probably more than anybody wants to admit, that you can actually be creative, for me. But if there's one thing that did kind of make me wake, it kind of woke me up for a while, but I keep needing to remind myself of that sometimes, because I do forget. I think we forget the bad shit that happens to us,
It's
some
true.
more than others, quicker than
That
others.
is true.
A few years ago, what was it, 2015? So quite a few years ago, my mom almost died, and she's
Whoa.
through an aneurysm. But she was very lucky. The aneurysm didn't actually kill her, even though she had two. One just burst and caused this fistula thing behind her eye, but she had very little chances of surviving that. And she had a few operations. The first one didn't go well. The second one, against all odds, she survived. And I remember really just realizing it's like you get another chance to spend more time with someone, and you take it for granted soon afterwards again. But there's moments when I remember that. So I need to write a song about my mom next. I think I
See,
will
that
do it.
reminds you. See, we've reminded you to write a song about your mum now. So when
Yeah,
you
I
write it,
started
you have
it.
to send it to
Okay.
us.
I will.
Okay. Who would you say has inspired you to do music or even be a songwriter? Because songwriting is a whole new world of its own. There's one thing being an artist, but then there's another thing being a songwriter.
I think my dad inspired me, actually, because my dad used to be a poet. He never
It
published
makes
anything,
sense.
but he
It
wrote.
makes sense now.
He
There you
wrote a
go.
lot. He reads a lot. He still writes, but he just doesn't get it out there. So I guess in a way, he inspired me because he bought me all these books on Greek myths and poetry. He still buys me books on Greek poetry, and just keeps saying, take this poem and turn it into a song. He loves the languages, and I think his love for words kind of got me, and that's why I studied English literature before I studied music.
And no,
I love reading as well. It's one of my biggest
same
loves.
How did it feel when you first performed on stage for the first time with a band?
With a band.
How was that feeling for you? How did it feel to you?
It wasn't really a stage. I remember the first gig I did, I was 15. We sang covers with this band while I was at school, at the embassy, at the Danish embassy. I think we did a gig there, and they just gave us, 10 pounds each and free food, and we were so happy. And I was singing Guns N' Roses and, just shaking my head around. I remember feeling great. I think there's something to be said about, the energy. And I was singing La Bamba at the same time, right after. Very weird set list. But it worked. People were entertained, and I remember enjoying it. And every time I perform on a stage, it's like it's the first time in a way, because it's always different, and there's an energy there that has to do with the people interacting with you. That it's not the same as doing lockdown shows. Let me put it that way.
Oh, tell me about it. It's not the same as doing lockdown podcasts.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's different.
It's nice because you can still connect with people. That's why I know that people listening to this won't obviously see us. But when we're doing the podcast, or I'll explain, when I'm doing a podcast, I can actually see the guest. But everybody else won't be able to see you, unfortunately, which is a shame because it's so much fun. It is so much fun being able to see everyone, and it's so crazy how everyone has their own interpretation of everything, and their emotions come out, and I get to see their emotions as well when I'm talking to them. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to do a podcast, but it's even better, I should say, when you're in front of each other. Because then you really get to connect as well. And I understand how you feel when you're on stage, because that's another beautiful thing too. Is there anyone, or is there any artist that you admire?
Ooh,
that you
there are
could say,
lots.
go for it, give me a
But
list?
I mean, I have some favorites. PJ Harvey is a favorite
Oh,
artist.
okay.
I always
Okay.
liked her a lot, and really admire how she changes in every, album. It's like every album is a collection of poems with her. She's just
Yeah.
and it's so different than the previous one. She's not afraid to experiment and to change. And another artist I love who is similar but different, obviously,
Yeah.
musically, is Regina Spectre. Do you know Regina Spectre?
I don't. I'm going to research her now.
She's wonderful as well, yeah. And she doesn't even believe that you have to have one voice, which is, what commercial pop kind of
You
this
don't
kind of
have to have one voice. Yeah,
yeah. So
I
she
agree.
plays with all sorts of styles and, jazz, blues, pop, rock, and she does it all so well. And every song of hers tells a story. And I think that's what I love songs because I feel they're stories. And I love stories. I love writing short stories. And if they're going to be a song, they're going to be a song. If they're going to be something else, great. It's just, so I love films as well. They're all stories, really. They're all stories we tell ourselves
Yeah.
and other people.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know you spoke about your dad, and I feel like he's going to be your answer. But is there one person in your life that has supported you through everything that you've been doing to this point?
That's my mom, actually.
Oh, it's your mom.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
hey,
the
mom.
rational one, but she's also the one
Ah,
who she's one of the most selfless human beings I've ever, had the luck of knowing and being raised by. She's always supportive. She always believes you need to, even if because she comes from a very traditional, patriarchal background herself.
yeah.
Cyprus is very traditional in terms of, I don't know, yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's very Middle Eastern
I
type
did.
of.
I went to Mykonos, which was beautiful,
I've never been to
and I did.
Mykonos. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Mykonos and it was beautiful, and it was either Athens or Mykonos. So I said, okay, let Hazel tells it, and then we went to Mykonos. And as soon as I got off the plane, there were loads of people saying, "Come to my house, come to my house." So
Yeah,
it was amazing.
yeah, no, it's true. We Greeks have this, we are philoxeny, as we say in Greek.
Yeah,
Philoxenia. We love hosting and being friendly to people.
yeah, it's really nice compared to
Glad you
London. No
like
one
it.
would be like, "Come to my house, come to my house."
They don't do that here. It's true I've been living here for a while now, and I hear a lot of Greek people tell me, oh, but they're cold there and this and that. It's not like that. It's just a big city. When you actually engage with someone in a supermarket, or well, not now that there's lockdown going on, in the streets, people will stop and they will talk to you and they will say hello.
Yeah, they will.
It's
Yeah, they
just
will.
how you approach them as well. I think
That's true.
everybody needs, everybody wants a smile, everybody wants a connection. It's just in a bigger city, it's more difficult. Somebody needs
Yeah.
to initiate it.
That's true. No, that's true. I'm always trying to make a conversation with someone, and sometimes I get really good responses, and sometimes I get responses where I want to run. But
It's true. There's so many different people, so many characters here.
but regardless of the case, I never regret trying to make a conversation with
That's
someone.
great.
No, it's perfect. If you were stuck in a desert island and all you had was food and water, what one person, dead or alive, would you want to have a conversation with, and what one album would you want both of you to listen to?
Would I want to have a conversation with? And I was by myself.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one. I can't single out one person.
I know it's so hard to say one. Even
someone
the album part
someone
is
that I
hard.
don't know, or someone
It
that
could be someone that you don't know. It could be someone that's dead and you're inspired by them and you want to bring them back for that one day. And then you have to pick an album that both of you would also listen to.
I'm gonna say something humorous because I can't
God.
really.
God.
Gandhi.
Ah, you're the second person to say that today.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd listen to Jagged Little Pill by Alanis and tell him, explain this, dude. It's not all done peacefully.
I love it.
Yeah, because I don't agree with how, sometimes I think all emotions are valid, and sometimes, yeah, you can be angry. It's okay to be
Yeah,
angry as long as you don't kill anyone
yeah,
or hurt anyone physically or
that's true.
emotionally. You know, you
Yeah.
could box you know, what do you call them? Just do something healthy to get your anger out. But yeah, I'm Greek. I'm a drama queen. I will be angry when someone pisses me off. And
No, you're just passionate.
I
It comes
I
down
love
to
that
passionate.
album. I love that album. Some people say, "Oh, it's really angry," and you know, I said, yeah, but it's good. It comes from the heart. It's, you know,
Yeah,
like,
it makes you angry too.
you ought to know.
Oh man,
She's
if you
brilliant.
hadn't done, oh, I can only imagine. Actually, do you know what? I would most probably be in the background of you two and be like, ah.
Yeah, I
I
was
would just be
influenced by
listening.
her. I was
I must
definitely
be up in the
influenced.
trees. I'll be climbing like a monkey up in the trees, just listening. I mean, I want to hear what them two gotta say. If you had an unlimited budget of money, yeah, what is the one thing or many things that you would change in the music industry that you feel needs to be changed?
If I had unlimited money, gosh, I think I'd be overwhelmed.
Okay,
I'd rather
fair
not
enough.
have unlimited money. What would I change? Well, a lot of things. I mean, I think it's easier than ever now to record your own music and,
Yeah, definitely,
you know, do
definitely.
things cheaply, perhaps cheaper
Yeah.
in some ways, but
Yeah.
it's still quite difficult to promote yourself without a lot of money.
Marketing.
I think it's
Yeah.
the PR that costs a lot, and it's time consuming, and obviously if you're a musician, you don't earn a lot of money from your music, so
That's true.
you can't spend all that time just promoting yourself and you know, paying for that. So yeah, I dish it out to everybody.
Yeah. Take some.
Put
Take some.
yourselves out there.
Take some.
And music, you know, if music is free, you know, it would be.
It'd be a lot easier, no?
Yeah,
It would
in
be
a
a
way,
lot.
it is free though. It's not like musicians get a lot of money from being played on Spotify or any of those platforms. Yeah. We don't really, but it does cost a lot to make. Music does cost a lot.
It does.
Make. Even if you can make it on your own, you still need to pay your musicians. You should hire a producer unless you have the expertise.
How is it for you, Echo? How do you typically go through the process of starting a song to finishing a song? So I mean, the idea, from having the idea to the songwriting to doing it with your band, then to getting it out there. Talk about the process of it.
I definitely need to be more consistent and disciplined in that I should write more often. I go through bursts because I do a lot of different things. Right now I'm focusing on a film, so I'm not really writing as much. But my process is quite straightforward in that if I'm not just inspired, which usually is the case, I feel like I say something or I think of something and I write it down, and then that can lead to a song. Or I have a feeling and it's really intense and I feel, you know, a certain thing and that I need to express. I need to give it some substance. So in that sense, I just pick up the guitar and try and formulate some melodies with lyrics. And I record everything and I put it away, and then I'll listen to it again and then work on that. So I might be working on one song for days, weeks, months. It just depends how often I revisit it and I keep working on it, because a song will change a lot from its inception, which might be just a phrase or a hook, to its final moments. Once I finish the structure and the lyrics and I'm happy with it, only then am I going to give it to my guitarist, my cellist, for example, and just say, should we do this? Shall we? And then they will add their own input. So that's how
is it when
I do it.
How is it when your band actually puts their input into your music for you? So if they want to change something, are you receptive to it, where you're like, okay, yeah, we can change that? Or are you like, no, you're not changing that? Because I know songwriters are different with their emotions and their connection towards their work. Yeah. So how is it for you being able to?
I'm really lucky because I perform with like very talented musicians, and I have different musicians in different countries. So in London, I'm working with an amazing guitarist called Adam Green, who also works with other singer-songwriters, and Mao, who I've worked with for like 12, 13 years now. And then I've had a few cellists, but the one that I'm working with currently is very talented, Maddie Hamilton. She's very creative as well, and she sings. And then in France, I'm working with another guy called Daniel Mizrahi. In Cyprus, Odysseas Dumazu, who's another guy. And then in Paris, I've co-written songs. One's coming out on 15th of June with the Spectre.
Hey.
So he's a rapper, but he's a producer as well and a songwriter, and we work really well together. So yeah, I think I'm very fluid in that I'll have the structure down, but there is room to adjust, maybe not lyrics, but nobody's ever told me let's change a lyric, but I'm open to that as well. The last song I released called Flow, which was written a long time ago, 5 years ago, but I released it in February. That one changed a lot over the course of performing it with different musicians, and the guy who wrote the piano for that, Andreas Pavvetru, he's now in Cyprus. He helped a lot in kind of coming up with his own ideas for simplifying the song. So yeah, I think everybody contributes their ideas, and I'm always open to that. And yeah, I think it's a collaboration in that sense. Even if you write the actual song, the end product and the performance that you give, everybody's collaborating together in order for that to happen. So
what do you do when you have writer's block? How do you feel? How do you get away from it?
I think I have it now. No, I think writer's block is just, you know, when you put too much pressure on yourself to come up with something that's amazing, that's when it hits you, because that's not how songs begin, not with this, ooh, I'm gonna write something amazing. And we all fall into that trap, and I think the longer I don't finish a song, the more stressed I feel about that, and the more I think, oh, it needs to be perfect. I think writer's block is just too much perfectionism, which I do struggle with. So the way I beat it is I just stop doing what I'm doing and I go for a walk, and I don't put that pressure on myself that I have to, you know, it will come. Sometimes you don't want to write, you want to enjoy the sun, and you want to read a book, and you need to get out of your head basically and enjoy someone else's music, and you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And then try again.
No, definitely. You don't fight anyone. So
yeah.
How would you describe your style of music? Because that is definitely something I want to ask you, because you come up with all these beautiful titles and you know, ideas and stories. But how would you describe your sound and your style compared to everybody else who's out there?
I've been told I'm folk noir, which I really dig. I love that. I love noir.
Oh, nice.
But I don't know, because I think I have a variety of styles within the music, and I think it's going to change. I want it to change. I want it to evolve. I want to put more of my Greek roots in it somehow, but it's finding the right musicians to also, you know, who bring that vibe in. So I think it's very folky and it's very poppy sometimes. It can be pop, rock, maybe elements of that, elements of blues. I love the blues, but ultimately it's driven by the lyrics. So it's very lyrical in that sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there is an underlying rock, blues, folk vibe going on. But I guess, yeah, they're very simple stories, really.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
I don't know how to describe it quite.
No, you describe it. I always say to people, describe it from your heart. If it comes from your heart, then that's the correct answer.
I think you can interpret a song in so many different ways. It also depends on the instrumentation you choose. So when I use just a cello and a guitar, it becomes more acoustic and folky. But if I were to put a full band behind it, it would sound more rocky maybe. So that all has to do with the way it sounds.
No, that make me think now, actually. Yeah. What is your ultimate goal in life? when it comes to music? What's your ultimate goal? So if someone said, I'll give you everything on a plate, what would it be for you?
To write, keep writing, but also to connect with people through my writing. In other words, if one song I write actually moves someone, I feel I've achieved something, or make someone
I
feel
always say that.
something. Yeah, just that makes me feel like it's worth it. You know, there's a connection going on, even if I'm not aware of it. So I think it's really important to just keep going with it, because you can't not go with it. So
That's true.
Yeah, it's I don't have an ultimate goal of, you know, making lots of money from it, or I mean, I wouldn't mind getting more money from it, don't get me wrong, because it's not an end in itself. You make the money, you put it into the music videos, and working in music costs a lot. Touring costs a lot. If you're an independent artist, you don't have the luxury of doing that. But it's never been my ultimate goal to just, I don't know, be famous or any of that. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, fame is a byproduct of being really successful in what you're doing in our world. So I guess being able to do it for as long as possible is what I want.
That's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough, which actually leads me on to my next question, because you kind of said some of the answer. But let's see. Define what success is, and define what success means to you.
Define
it. So
define
define what success means to you. So everybody has a different perception of what success is. Like success could be, you know, just living through cancer. Success could mean passing your driving test. Success could mean being in love. Everyone has a different definition of what success is. But what does success mean to you as a person?
Being truthful, which is not always easy. Truthful in your life, truthful in your writing, truthful with the people around you. It's not always easy to do.
Yeah. How do you find it when you have to be truthful to someone?
Sometimes it's hard. Yeah.
Do you ever write a song about it?
Being truthful to yourself is even harder sometimes, you know, being aware of your own bullshit.
Sometimes.
No, I haven't written a song about it, but I plan to. Oh, and you asked me about my process earlier. Maybe I should show you this. Give me a sec.
Okay, cool. Right.
So this is another way I've been trying to kill writer's block. I've been carrying around this piece of paper with random phrases and words. They won't make any sense if somebody sees this.
Okay, read them out. Can you read them out?
Oh my gosh, sure. Come and see me sometime. That might be a song. It is what it is. Cliche, but you know, it works. Give in to it.
Okay.
Dead echoes. That was me feeling macabre. Fight back. Two cities.
I like that title.
Two rivers. Sky, air, light. And then I have a note to myself, deliver work to Mark Smith by tonight. I haven't done that yet. The sound of the cracking red. So I have different phrases and words and ideas that might be stringed into different songs, or one song, or I don't know.
So would you say it's a good idea to always write down your ideas and then just roll with them and
write down without filtering yourself? So just free write. Free write is a great writer's block killer.
Love that.
Because you just don't think too hard about what you're going to write. Just let things flow out of you. That can be quite disturbing when you read them back, but at the same time, you can get little pearls there that you wouldn't have maybe thought of if you'd, because the whole idea of free writing is letting your unconscious or subconscious stream of thought come out on paper. And it's all there, and it tells you more about yourself than you probably tell yourself consciously. So
that's true.
That's the
agree with you. Was there ever a time, Eko, where you felt like you wanted to give up on what you were doing because you had the lack of money, or you didn't have the right people around you, or the direction that you were going in wasn't the direction that you thought you maybe were going in?
Oh yeah.
How did you bring yourself back to reality to say, I'm Echo, I can do this.
I feel like that all the time. I've always felt like that. It's up and down, I'm very emotional and very all or nothing type of person. So when things come into a routine and some things aren't happening, I can get very impatient. I can think, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough, or maybe this isn't what I want, and I'm getting older, and blah blah blah. And but then I make a cup of tea and I just get on with it, and then I feel better. I go for a walk.
Cup of tea, right?
Cup of tea and a walk. Cup of tea and a walk. And my mom, she's wonderful. She knows me really well. So when I'm grumpy and I'm like in that mode, she'll say, "Okay, like go for a walk. I'm gonna hang up on you now. Go for a walk. Get yourself a cup of tea and we'll talk afterwards." Okay? And I'm like, okay. Go for a walk. I come back, have my tea, and I'm better already. Life is just moments. Life is just moments. So yeah.
No, that is true. Is there any advice that you would give to artists or songwriters out there about what we've just literally spoke about being positive and optimistic, about writing and feeling down, and how to get yourself back up?
I
What would you
think
say?
the secret to being positive actually is not being too hard on yourself when you're not feeling positive. Just accepting it all, because we're not machines, we're not robots, we're not going to be smiling all the time. We're going to feel so many emotions throughout the course of the day. And it's fine. If we weren't so emotional, we wouldn't be writing music. We wouldn't be doing creative stuff. We need that. And
I
it's
agree.
perfectly natural. So yeah, I guess my secret of staying positive, more or less, and getting on with things, and loving life, even if it doesn't always seem so on the outside. I do love life, and I do enjoy the simple stuff in life. I think it's just accepting the ups and downs, and there's people that I know that are better at that than I am, far better, and they've taught me to just accept it. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you're feeling like shit, that's fine. Go speak to someone. Go see a GP. It's okay to be depressed sometimes. We all get depressed. Treat yourself, get treatment. Don't feel ashamed. Just, we have a gift. It is a gift. It just goes when you don't expect it. And if anything, this pandemic kind of shows you that unexpected shit happens, and you might not live an extra day to see it. So since you have that opportunity, just make every day count. I don't think I think there's so much wisdom in that. Make every day count. And I think that's why I have insomnia. I just can't go to bed until I've done something that makes me feel like, yeah, the day can now go to bed. So much to do. Like overworking brain, so much to do. I love sleeping too, though. It's just, it's hard to get to that point.
Especially when you feel warm and stuff. But I'm always thinking of questions, because I love what I do. So I'm always thinking of what questions to ask people, how that can resonate with them to resonate with other people. And to me, I'm like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. Oh my gosh, I got a question.
That's great.
That's great. Start writing down, and I'll start writing it down, and then my partner will look at me and be like, "Are you okay?" Oh, fine. I just got a question. Okay, I'm going back to sleep. Oh, okay. And that's kind of, I guess, how music is as well, because you can wake up in the middle of the night. Have you ever had a dream? I always ask people this question. Have you ever had a dream where you've written a song and then you wake up and you thought you wrote the song down, but you didn't?
The first song I ever released in 2014 was a song I dreamed. Half of it was in a dream, and I woke up singing it. It's never happened to me after that, so it's not like I'm a phenomenon and this happens to me often. That was just once, and it was 6 years ago. No, more than 6 years ago, but I released it in 2014, and it was a weird sensation. But the song with the lyrics and the verse and the chorus were in my head the whole way through. It's like repeat, and I found that the songs that I finish faster are the songs that haunt me in that way. Like the melody is always there, it's just in my head until I finish it. And yeah, that was one. It's called Bricks and Sparrows. You can listen to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. If there was one song in the world, Echo, that you wish you wrote in the history of music, what song would you choose and why would you choose that particular song? Look at her face.
Easy.
Her face is like, oh
It's
my God, girl.
easy. Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. I love that
Seriously?
song. Yeah, and I love the way Jeff Buckley sings it, especially. I mean, there's many songs I love, but that one just does something to me. I think it's the way that also Jeff Buckley interprets the song, but I love the way Leonard Cohen sings it too. But it's that emotion in the lyrics, and it kind of represents how I think about love, which is quite sad. I hope it changes. I'm sure it will. It is changing already, but
There's nothing wrong with the way you think about it. I'm
love is
actually
never
intrigued. Okay.
a victory
Tell me
march. It's a cold
what
and it's
you
a broken hallelujah. Yeah, that's what he wrote in those lines. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, and he sings it in a way that cracks his voice and cracks his insides, and it's really beautiful. There is vulnerability in that song, and for me, that's when pain can be moving in that way because it's real, because it's true. Yeah.
I mean, you're making me think now. I'm like, oh, okay,
But
get my notes out.
I love Feeling Good by Nina Simone. Feeling Good.
Oh, I love
I
Nina
love
Simone.
that
Yeah.
song.
I've got her records there. My dad passed me down his records, and Nina Simone was in there, and there was a lot of jazz and a lot of blues
great,
in there.
isn't she?
Yeah, and she's strong as well, and she represents for women, not just women, but she talks a lot about what's really going on in the world, not just what people want to hear.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid of it.
No.
And when I was doing my research on Nina Simone, I found out that she sold one of her albums to a record label for £2,000, and then they made over like 2 million or even more than that. And at the time, she sold the album only because she wanted to support and help her family. I think it was. That's the reason why she sold for only £2,000. So obviously, back in those days, £2,000 sounds like a lot of money, but yeah, the record label managed to make a good 2 million or more than that on her album, which is so sad.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Because if a record label or a publishing company was to come to you and say, "Hey, Echo, we're gonna give you, like, say the equivalent to that now might be what, $500,000. If they were to give you $500,000 for your album, would you sell your album or give your rights away? Or do you feel like artists need to know a lot more about the music business? Because I feel like a lot of artists are shadowed by fame rather than knowledge.
No, not the ones that I know. The ones that I know are quite savvy, but yeah, you're probably right. I would never give away my copyright because I don't think that's, unless I'm a ghostwriter, and people do that for work, which is fine. It depends how you view your songwriting. I'm very protective. They're like my babies. I don't want to give them. I don't have any babies of my own, so those are my babies. You don't touch my babies. I get mad. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. I have not ever signed with a record label either. I'm not kind of desperate to. If one comes along with a good offer that's going to benefit me, I wouldn't bother because I'm not commercially, I'm not commercially viable. I'm not like a young, cutesy patootsy. You know what I mean? Not to demean anyone, but I don't think I'd make a good investment at this point unless they loved my music. So if they loved my music, they would want to continue with me writing it, and they would either give me a good deal or no deal.
Yeah.
I don't think nowadays the industry has changed so much that it's not. Publishing companies, I think, are very important because it's all about syncing your songs to TV commercials, films. But in terms of record labels, I think unless they're the big ones or unless they have a budget to invest in you, promoting you and marketing you, you can do a lot of that stuff on your own. You do need money to do it though, but you can do a lot of it on your own. And I don't think record labels actually even bother approaching you now, or big publishing labels, until you've proven that you have a large following and that you've been doing most of it on your own anyway.
I think it's because they don't want to invest the money like they used to. Like before, they used to give you a large sum of money, and even if they lost it, they wouldn't care.
Because people don't buy CDs anymore. They don't buy albums, they buy singles. So it's changed, and there's so much free music out there, which is a good thing. But because of the internet, I think everything is so different. In a way, it's good for us because we can promote ourselves, you know, in a way that we haven't been able to in the past. There's so many platforms that you can promote yourself and do everything a record label would be doing. It's just you don't have the money to put into the advertising. For me, that's the bummer, because obviously, as independent artists, we put a bit of money on the side for advertising, but it's not the same as the thousands of pounds that I'm sure, you know, record labels put in for an artist.
Yeah.
You know, put your face here and there so that people can get to know you, be curious about you. We can't do that as independent artists. But you know what? It's the same as what we mentioned before. It's like, what's the end game? What are you after? I love anonymity. I honestly love it. I think fame would be a nightmare for me because I don't like people butting into my business, knowing too much about me or judging me. And I think with fame, you get that inevitably. You know, if you ask any famous person, they're like, you know, you get that. You get invasion of privacy. People put you up, but unfortunately, it's part of humanity. They want to bring you down as well. It's like, because they're bored. Only people who are bored do that.
Sometimes I ask people, what do they prefer? So if I was to give you fame or money, which one would you take?
Oh, definitely money. Because with money, you could do so much. You could give it to charity. You could help people. You could help yourself. You could do so much. Yeah. Money doesn't make you happy, but it makes things easier. I never feel that money is an end in itself.
That's exactly
I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I don't want any money. Everybody needs money to survive in this world. Unfortunately, it would be better if we didn't have money. If we just exchange things.
So how? Okay. Here's a question for you. You've just brought up another question. If that was the case, right, and there was no more money, which I think they're trying to do anyways, how do you think this world would be? Because there are some people who are not like us in the aspects of having a talent. How would they be able to exchange things, or how do you interpretate not having money in the world would affect us all?
I mean, I've always been for the barter system since I was a kid. I do feel that I hoard a lot of books and I hoard a lot of other stuff that I don't really need. And I think it's part of our consumerist, you know, brainwashing reality to kind of buy things to make ourselves feel better. I might not buy a lot of makeup or you know, everybody buys different things to make themselves feel better. And we don't need all these things. So it would be good for our health. And for me too, if I could, you know, buy a book, read it, and then exchange it with another book. And then, you know, exchange things. If you exchange things, we would probably be able to live more minimalist lives, which, you know, I think it's difficult when you're able to buy a bulk of shit that you don't need. You end up not living a minimalist life. And we'd end up not wasting a lot of resources and exploiting people with little money, you know, like we do. We wouldn't need so much, maybe, because it's like you see this in the pandemic when there's times of crisis, when you can't really get a lot of stuff. You just learn to adapt without them. Like toilet roll, I'm joking. We never had that problem, but you know, I was a bit worried about toilet roll, and I bought all these Kleenexes in the beginning when I saw there's no toilet roll and we only have 5 left. And my flatmate was like, "Don't worry, we'll be fine." And I was like, "I'm getting Kleenexes just in case." You know, like, what are we gonna do? People adapt, you know, they find ways to adapt. So I think we would find a way to adapt without money. Although I doubt we would be without money, because, you know, there's the Bitcoin and all of that. I think it will always be a currency, because I think we humans are quite competitive and we're ambitious, and that's not always a bad thing. But in terms of, you know, capitalism and how it will evolve, I don't think it's going to disappear. And I think the beauty of creative stuff like music and films, and, you know, is you need money in order to promote them and get them out there for a larger audience to see. But money and capitalism can also be a deadener, because it's hard to get them to notice things that aren't commercial or aren't
That's definitely
mainstream.
true. Well, that's definitely true. If I was to bring your family members and a bunch of your friends in a room, and I asked them to choose one word, just one word, to describe you, what do you think they would say? What one word do you think that they would use to describe you?
Oh, my dad would say "belli," which means crazy, nuts.
Oh.
And he'd laugh. He'd laugh when he said that. She's nuts. Good luck. I love it.
I've had a few crazies this week, actually. I have had a few crazies, and you know the funny thing, it's all been from the women.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
love it.
not one man has turned around and said crazy. I think the men turned around and said ego
Oh,
and strong. Yeah, and most of the women have turned around and said crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why that's come up, but I always ask that just to see what they would say. But literally all this week, like 80% of women have said crazy.
That's great. I mean, I'm all for that. I think creative madness is necessary.
Totally is. It totally is.
If you're going to write anything worth writing, I think you need to be a little bit unhinged, or brave enough to be unhinged. You can't follow the rules. You can't just be, you can't be proper about it. You have to be a bit mad.
True. Yeah. If you're not crazy, then I don't think that creative side comes out of you the way it should be.
Yeah, because emotions are not ordered. They're very irrational, disordered. I don't know what to call them. little little I don't know, little smurfs.
Now you got me singing the theme song of Smurfs.
I did actually listen. I did have a tape of that when I was younger. I hope I wasn't influenced. That's all I gotta say. If I have been, then forgive me. But yeah.
Oh dear. I don't know if I've asked you this, but is there a quote that represents you as a person?
Yes.
Talk to me.
It's "Only the impossible is worth the effort," from Jeanette Winterson.
Ooh, I like that. Say it for me again.
Only the impossible is worth the effort.
I like that. So that's the quote that you carry around with you every day to keep you going.
That's the quote that comes in my head when I feel despair. And I say, I can't do this. I hate that phrase. I can't do this.
Are you sure you're not a warrior goddess in your past
life? Thank you. Well, maybe. I like that idea. I'm a warrior goddess. Yeah. All right. I'll take it.
Bro, because okay, let me explain to our listeners. The reason why I said that is because of our interview, and I always listen to everything that everyone says, and I take it and I have my own interpretation of a person and I put it into a character, and that's how I'm creative. And for me, I just visualized that and I thought, let me just say it. But my name, Louise, my original name, because I have Savia in my name, I have quite a long name, but my name means famous warrior.
Wow.
Louise means famous warrior, and apparently Savia means chosen one. So it's famous warrior, chosen one. So I love to look up people's names and find out what their names mean. Do you know what your name actually means? Yeah, tell me.
It means light. Ilios.
And so you were a warrior in your past life, and now you're light in this life. See, that's a song in itself.
Yeah, I guess. I guess we're all warriors, aren't we? We're all
in our own way, especially now with this that's going on. I think that we are all trying to fight for something that we believe in.
Yeah, definitely.
Which definitely makes sense. So I have a few more for you. If you could give advice to your fans and your followers out there who love what you do, what advice would you give them to uplift them and keep them going within music or just following you as a person?
I mean, I've always said this to people. Just follow the thing that makes you want to play. By play, I mean, have fun, enjoy yourself, feel things, turn things around, experiment. Don't do things just to earn money and go home and live in a routine. You're living dead alive. Then you're not really living. You gotta find a way to, even if you have to do a job that you don't like. We all have to do jobs that we're not, enthused by. All of us, everybody. It's just find a way to fit in something that you love in your day, even if it's 10 minutes or an hour. It doesn't really matter as long as you're doing it, because ultimately I think the way to be miserable is to just do what you have to do to please others, rather than to make yourself feel good and happy, and that you have a purpose in life. And I think having a purpose should be about love, and it could be love for music. It could be love for your kids as well, but your kids want to see you happy. You have to be fulfilled as an individual to fulfill other people, and to be a good carer, or a good just do something for yourself. Be a bit selfish in the good sense. Follow your passion. And we all have passions, and I think we're all talented as well. I don't agree with this idea that, oh, that person's talented and they made it, the other. I don't think that at all. I think it's just talent. We're all talented. We just have to discover our different talents. There's so many that everybody has, and give them time, and don't just give up because you're not famous. I mean, I should have given up a long time ago.
Oh, why?
Well, if we're looking at success in terms of fame, so many people have, because I've been doing music for a very long time. I was like, why are you still in London since you haven't made it? Come back. I will go back eventually to my little island one day, because I love it. I miss it a lot, and my family's there. But I don't feel I'm not successful just because I'm not famous. I never thought that, which is lucky for me, or I would have given up a long time ago. And I do know a few people who have given up in a way. Not a lot, but a few people that, I used to play music with them when I was much younger, and they've just gone into just taken up jobs that they're not really satisfied with, but they make a lot of money. They've, started having a family, which is all great. You could do both, though. I do believe you don't have to choose between having a family and doing your passion. You can do both. You just have to find someone supportive who'll do it with you. And I just think life is really important. It's really important for you to follow your passion if you want to have a happy life.
Yeah. If there's one thing that you could say about you now that you don't normally say in an interview or even a podcast, what one thing would you say to your fans and your followers now that you don't normally say about, but it has to be about yourself? She's on the spot now.
I struggle with addiction sometimes. Addiction to chocolate. It's not addiction to crisps. Addiction to people.
Does it go in phases?
It goes in phases, and I think I can be very lonely sometimes. I think humans can be very lonely, but I think it doesn't. We don't normally admit it. I think loneliness is very. It's a sly motherfucker. Let me put it that way. It really is, because it has nothing to do with how many people write to you on social media or how many people you have around you. Yeah, perhaps living in London, millions of people here, and we're so close and so far apart. That can make you very lonely, especially if your whole family is in another country. I do feel lonely a lot, but I deal with it, and I get round it, and it's not a stagnant kind of force that stays with me. But I think a lot of people suffer from this, and I think the older you get, I mean, and my heart goes out to people who are older than, I don't know, people who are in their 70s, for example, who've had to be more locked in than us because of the situation. The loneliness they must feel must be 10 times worse than what we younger people are feeling. I think when you get older, you get lonelier, and we need to be more compassionate with, people that are older than
Yeah.
us, and yeah,
Oh,
that.
is there? Do you have any singles coming out
I do.
soon?
I
Yeah,
have
go on, talk to
a
me.
song called "Bury You"
Hey.
coming out. I co-wrote this song with the Spectre. So he's
Okay.
a really wonderful rapper, songwriter, producer based in Paris. We're very good friends, and he produced the song and co-wrote it with me in August. August, yeah, last year, and we were gonna release it on the 1st of May, but because of everything happening, too many people dying every day, we thought it was inappropriate as well because of the title, which has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's very personal. So yeah, we're releasing it on the 15th of June.
I can't.
Yeah, there's no music video, unfortunately, even though I was due to go to Paris in April and film one, but obviously we couldn't do that. But the song's coming out.
Okay, wicked. Guys, look out for that, okay? And where can we find you, finally? Where can we find you, Echo, on all your social media?
Yeah,
Go for it.
Echo wants her voice back. I mean, if you can remember the name. She wants her voice back in it. She does. Echo wants her voice back. We're on Facebook, Instagram. I recently discovered my MySpace page is still alive, which is weird.
Oh, wow. I might check it.
Very weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was dying, but it came back suddenly. Someone messaged me saying, "You're on MySpace?" And I was like, I thought that was dead. No, it's still going strong. Reverb Nation, what else? YouTube. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'm going to be releasing a lot of covers. I've already started. I have a lockdown cover coming up on Friday.
Stay tuned, guys.
And yeah, basically I have a website. Just wherever you want, you can reach me. I try to reply to as many people as possible, so you can email me or message me, and yeah, send in requests if you want me to write something specific. I can try. I think it's a bit fun. It's a nice challenge.
Oh, hear that, guys? Get writing in, send in your requests. Echo, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast.
That was fun.
It's been splendid. I loved it. Yeah, me too. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can donate to the Us People podcast so we can talk to lovely people like Echo. All you need to do is go onto PayPal and click in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and continue to be kind to one another.